Hello and welcome to the second season of the Come Alive podcast. I'm your host, Mehermi Chandani. I'm a mother with a story, a business leader with a vision, and a transformative coach whose mission is to transform lives of leaders so they strengthen the relationship they have with themselves and thrive in all areas of their lives. This podcast is in collaboration with Light Digital, and we are here at Casa Luso. This neutral background has been chosen today because it complements my guest on this episode. A media, content, TV expert and speaker who's living her passion. Her mission is to help entities and individuals embrace the power of video and grow their visibility to attract new opportunities. The CEO of a group of companies called Elemental. She's also an award-winning entrepreneur with an award-winning company named TI22 Films. She's a media, video and production strategist, consultant and advisor supporting both organizations transitioning into becoming content creators and those bringing new media projects into the market. She loves to spend time teaching, consulting and running workshops in video content creation through her coaching programs and courses at DIY Video Academy. She is none other than Reim El Houni. So I'm super excited to have you here today, Reim.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm the one who's excited to be here. Thank you.
I had seen this workshop that you were doing with YPO and I was not able to do it because of the dates not matching. But then I met you and I saw you and here you are today.
Planets aligned.
Yes.
So here we are.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and then we'll move on.
I am incredibly passionate about the world of film and TV. So I'm very fortunate that I think I recognized this passion very early in life. So I've been very obsessed with this life and this livelihood. And it's very exciting when you realize that something you enjoy consuming, you can actually start creating. So as I progressed in my career, I've evolved in this industry. But I would say my entire life is very focused on this medium. But I would say the last 5-6 years, I've been focused a lot more on supporting individuals and corporates just help their staff or help their teams become more visible. And that's something that I'm very passionate about because I think we grow up thinking that fame is meant for celebrities and cameras are these, tools that we should shy away from. Whereas we're now in an era where everyone has the ability to embrace the tools, get on social media and really control their own visibility. And as you mentioned in the intro, that's how you attract opportunities. The more visible you are, the more opportunities you attract. And I often tell people, if you're not visible, you're invisible. And I feel that very strongly, having spent my entire career behind the camera and only starting to find my place in front of it in the last 5 or 6 years. So to answer your question, I'm someone who's highly passionate about the medium, but I think as the industry evolves and develops, I'm exploring how we can learn from it and how everyday Joe, everyday person can start taking advantage of these tools to help themselves grow.
So everybody talks about that you should be visible, you should post on LinkedIn, Instagram, you should make your social media presence felt, but nobody talks about why is it important. Can you share a little bit about that?
So that's a great question because believe it or not, people don't often know this, but I'm going to ask you this question and put you on the spot. Do you know the number of people, the percentage of people who are more likely to do business with a company if they're following the CEO on social media? 77%. So 77% of people are more likely to do business with a company if they're following the CEO on social media. So for all the CEOs out there who always felt like, oh, social media isn't for me, I've got a team to do this. 77% of people.
That's huge.
That is huge. And then I'm going to take it one step further. Do you know the percentage of people who are more likely to do business with you if they've watched a video of you on social media? If you were to guess what that percentage is.
Let me take it a little higher, like 85?
Not quite, it's 63, but I still think that's massive. So we work with a lot of people who say, do I really need to be on camera? Do I really need to be there? I'm like, well, yes, 63% of people are going to have a connection with you just because they've seen a video of you. So we're now in a medium where people feel like they know you, they trust you based on the content you put out there. So as far as I'm concerned, everything I do on my LinkedIn is business development. I'm literally, it's moved in my head from social media to business development strategy. It's in my diary every day, and I encourage all CEOs and leaders to start doing this, because you can now own that space and put whatever message you want to put out there that resonates with your audience, but it now has a direct correlation to sales and revenue as well.
That's amazing. So I study a lot about culture and values, and I study why is it important, and I have learned that in concept to the valuation that your company will have, if you have all this, culture plays a huge role. So that I know. But for me, social media has been more about just giving back, sharing your knowledge, your experience, and express myself and my learning. Since I'm an author, I've written a book, I read a lot, I research a lot, so it's all about giving back. And I never knew it could convert back into this kind of statistics. 77% is huge.
But I agree with you about it being about culture as well, because you're ultimately giving people an insight into your life and your business and your team. So it's also about having an objective with your content and understanding what kind of content is going to resonate with your audience, and being a little bit strategic about it as well if you have an objective to go towards sales. Having said that, the most popular content is either educational or entertainment. So I fully agree with you that it should be a space where you're educating your audience. The more you give, the more you educate, the more value you create, the more you start to see results. I know for both of us, BNI is part of our world, and there's an acronym in BNI that's used very often, which is VCP. Well, Giver's Gain as well, but I was going to say VCP because it's all about, in the social media and video space, it's all about how visible can you be. If you're visible, and then you start sharing content that adds to your credibility, which is the C, eventually it gets to the P, which is the profitability. So you start to see that the more content you put out as well.
That's amazing. I love it. So since you have a purpose and a passion, what does it mean to be alive? And how do you incorporate that into your daily life?
That's a great question, because I think it's a difficult one for people to embrace, like being alive. That's such a vague, what does being alive mean to anyone? I think for me, I'm a workaholic and I love my industry. So it's very easy for me to be working round the clock all the time. And I think you have to take a conscious step into understanding the breaks you need, the passions you have, and to actively make time for them. So I'm someone who fully believes in the world of vision boards and goal setting and manifesting, and I spend a lot of time on that. And part of that also means scheduling. So I'm not one of those people who put it out there and go, it'll come. You need to actually also schedule and plan and ensure that you're making room and making space for these things to enter into your life. So when it comes to feeling alive, I know that there are certain activities. I love to dance. I will make sure I schedule time to dance. But beyond that, I make sure, because it's difficult when you work a busy work life, I've done my best to integrate dancing into our work life as well. So I'm always trying to see, where can I bring these two lives together and where can I merge them? So believe it or not, I make my team dance every day. So I went to a Tony Robbins event in 2016, and for anyone who's been to a live Tony Robbins event, it was fascinating because you sit there and you're learning and you're taking notes, and the next thing you know, the music blares up and everyone's like, stand up, jump up, high fives, and the energy just changes. And so I learned from him, that one of the fastest ways to change your psychological state is to move and change your physiological state. So I remember coming back from that and going into the office and like, guys, we are dancing every day. So, they're not always happy about it, but by the end, they're all smiling, they're all laughing. And it goes to show that if you make the time, you make it a priority, it makes a difference. So I'm very conscious about things like that.
So can you share a pivotal moment or experience in your journey that you really felt that you are here to make this difference and teach people how to content create and how to basically embark on their journeys?
I think that's a great question, because if I'm honest, I didn't enter into this industry with the purpose of making a change. I entered into this industry because I loved film and TV. It was my passion, I enjoyed it, and then it was a realization that I can make this my livelihood. And if I really think about it, I watch a lot of film and TV as escapism. So for me, it's creating a world that people can escape into. So I love that side of things. But I would say more recently, what I feel aligns more with my passion to continue doing it is when I see transformations for people. So we run a lot of workshops. We have a lot of individuals come through our workshops who are maybe camera shy, never been on camera before. They want to be visible. They just, for whatever reason, they haven't taken that chance. For some people, there are cultural reasons why they haven't done it. For others, they're just self-conscious. They don't feel comfortable within themselves to do it. And for me, quite a few pivotal moments is when we have these workshops and I see people come in on day one, really nervous, really unsure, and they walk out after day two with a video and feeling like filled with pride that they managed to do it. And we've had quite a few instances where people cry. And the first time that happened, I was really worried. Like the first time someone cried, I was like, what did we do? Why are they crying? And then when you talk to them, you realize it was such a big accomplishment for them. Like they'd really put it in their head as a big obstacle to overcome. And they can't believe that they've seen themselves on camera and they've done it. So for me, that's probably, we have so many of those pivotal moments. And every time it happens, it reminds me why this is such an important journey and why I'm fortunate to have come out the other end. And now there's so many more people who just need that push or that pull, to get over whatever that fear is and start embracing themselves and step into the spotlight.
But you did mention there was a reflection. But was there like a pivotal moment or a turning point in your life that you felt that, yes, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
I think the pivotal point for me, I'm going to keep talking about being in front of the camera, because I feel like being in the industry is easy, right? But that's a choice you make to whatever industry you're in. You've made a choice, you've studied, you're working in that industry. But coming in front of the camera is something personal. That's like you overcoming your own internal obstacles. And having grown up behind the camera, it was something that I never really felt was a space for me. And I think when you start to run your own business, you realize you're the face of your business. You can't hide anymore. You need to step up. And I shared some of the statistics earlier. They're huge. People need to connect with you. So I think for me, it was that feeling. I often tell people in our workshops, I ask them, have you ever been leapfrogged? And what do I mean by leapfrogged? And without meaning any ill will for anyone, but have you ever been on social media just scrolling and suddenly you see people who maybe don't have the same level of experience as you, maybe not as credible as you, maybe haven't been in the market as long as you have, but somehow they're attracting all these opportunities. And you sit there and think, how did that happen? And it happens, right? And I've just concluded they're simply more visible than you. And part of that, and being a CEO, started to, and actually COVID was a big one in terms of pushing at least me, and I know many people, to finally get on camera. For us during COVID, a lot of our business paused. People didn't really want to film content anymore. So I started doing a lot of webinars and teaching people how to create video content. And that slowly got me more comfortable on camera. And I would say that was a pivotal time, because had I not started to put myself out there, I wouldn't be where I am today in terms of encouraging other people to do the same.
So in your opinion and experience, what would be the key ingredient from shifting your mindset from a victim mindset into a thriving mindset?
So I don't think it's easy. And I think I'm someone who actually has done a lot of work to get to a space where I'm always looking at how to do things. So whatever the challenge, whatever the situation, what are my options? My options are to be down and depressed about it, or my options are to think about how I can get out of the situation. And staying down and depressed isn't going to get me anywhere. The situation isn't going to change. So I have to start thinking about how, like, what are the ways that I can work my way out of whatever the situation is. So I think learning to be a bit more resourceful, learning to ask for help, which is something I never used to do. But realizing that you have people around you, you have a community around you, you probably just haven't shared your challenges with them or asked them for help. And that's been pivotal for me because, you know, I remember very clearly, this was a few years ago, I was starting a second brand, Dubai On Demand. And at that time, it was very challenging because I was a bit early. I was trying to convince the market that there was potential in YouTube shows and YouTube content, something everybody knows now. But in 2014, it was pretty challenging. And I remember sitting at a lunch, you know, with a group of business owners and saying, look, I know this has potential. I need to have a big bang. I need to create an event. I need to attract investors. In one lunch, because I shared that challenge, I suddenly had all of them saying, right, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make it work? You know, and I had one person say, look, what do you need? We run an AV company. We'll sort out the AV. I had the next person say, you know what? We run a choreography company. We'll sort out the entertainment. I had the next person saying, you know what? We run a hostess company. We'll add in some hostesses. No joke. Within a lunch, you know, just by sharing the challenge I had like this world-class event with all these supporters and suppliers who were just wanting to see me succeed. And I often think about examples like that because I could have very easily kept this challenge to myself, got depressed and upset that I haven't got anywhere, you know, and I also wouldn't have had the resources to do it alone. So by sharing the challenge, I now have all the support to get it done. And another Tony Robbins quote, it's never about your resources, it's about your resourcefulness. And I think once you realize that, you know what, you can be pretty resourceful, you learn how to overcome all the challenges that come up.
I also feel for challenges, it's when we are able to understand, identify, and know ourselves better, we are able to overcome those challenges, and then the creator really supports us to make sure that we are aligned and we are able to progress in life.
I'm very big on that. Like for me, if we came up with a new idea right now, my instant would be like, okay, when are we doing it? You know, because I really believe let's put a date out. We may not know anything. We may not have a plan yet, know how it's going to happen. But if you decide and you put it out there and you focus, everything else starts to magically align, right? So it is about having that commitment to that vision, putting it out there, getting everyone involved in this vision, you know, and magic happens.
So like you said, then it's not about judging yourself, but actually taking that first step and progressing and doing something. So this brings me to my next question. How do you navigate setbacks and challenges?
So I think, you know, we all have setbacks, but it's about making sure they don't actually set you back, you know. So I really work very hard on having a positive mindset every day. And this confuses people. A lot of people are like, oh, you're so positive. I'm like, no. I'm actually, you know, quite an introverted, low person, but I work really hard so that when I wake up every day, you know, I've decided, it's a decision. I've decided that I'm going to be outstanding today. Everyone I meet, I'm like, how are you? And they say, and anyone says, oh, I'm okay. I'm like, why? We're going to be outstanding. You make these decisions. And I think if you approach everything with a positive mindset, it then turns into, how are we going to overcome this setback? What are the ways we're going to move forward? Who are the people that can help us get out of it? What are the new lessons that we need to learn? So you have to start looking at every setback as a step forward. Like, what can I learn from this? And how quickly can I move out of it? Because otherwise, it becomes too easy to drown in it, right? So the faster you bounce back, and I think sadly or not, but you know, the more setbacks you have, the better you get at it, right? The more setbacks you have, you're like, okay, I've gone through this before. I know I can get out of this. So what did we do to get out of it last time? Yalla, let's do that again.
So would you be able to share any practical tips that how do you navigate these challenges? Like for me to be in the right zone, I do a lot of positive self-talk. I do my journaling, meditation, I exercise, I do a lot in the morning to keep me in that zone. So is there something you can share with us that what you do to be able to be in that mindset of thriving?
Quite a few things. I write a gratitude journal every night, and I've been doing it for maybe 10 years, and it makes a huge difference to my life. And I literally look for the 5 things every day that I'm grateful for. And they're not things like I'm alive, they're like specific things that people have said or done. And since I've been doing it, it makes me very aware on a daily basis, because I'm literally looking for those 5 things that I'm going to write every day. So I would say my gratitude journal has played a big part in that. I'm constantly learning. So I'm someone who's always learning. I'm always listening to positive content, positive podcasts. I'm always wanting to stay in a positive state of mind as much as possible. I also make sure I stay as far as possible from anything that will deviate my attention. So I'm quite like harsh about it. And what I mean by that is, like, if anyone, like I have like, I heard years ago about unfollow Friday. You know, it's like unfollow people. Anyone who makes you feel the slightest bit negative,
I love
don't
that.
need to see you.
So yeah, like they say, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. So the energies do play a role in your life.
It plays a huge role. So because of that, it's important. So if you've got like people around you who, you know, they just don't seem to be moving forward in life, they're stuck in the same story every day, you feel low when you see them, it's your choice how much time you spend with that person, you know? So it's about curating your environment and curating the content you put into your mind. So something very unusual that people don't fully understand, because I'm in media, I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news in years. I don't watch it, I don't read it, I don't want to know, you know, which a lot of people think, how do you do that? You're in media. Like, there's a level of ignorance here, right? I'm like, no, why do I need to know? Like, why? You know, if it's important enough, I will know. Enough people will say it, and I work in media, so I'll hear it, you know, but I don't need to. I also happen to, and I know a lot of people like this, but I happen to grow up in a very media family. My father was an editor-in-chief of a newspaper, which meant that the news was on all the time. So, and there are people who watch the news all the time, and it's like, what benefit is that to your life? The news is on repeat, you're seeing the same trauma and the same drama, and that's gonna have an impact on you. So I'm very much in a space of trying to protect the content I consume and the environment that I'm in.
Beautiful. This is very, very important. I totally agree. So what role does personal growth, self-awareness, self-love play in your journey to thriving and your purpose and being able to do what you love to do?
I would have to be honest and say I don't think I've fully conquered that, because I love my industry so much. I work a lot, and I have to always remind myself that I need to take pauses and have more self-love and self-care. And so I'm not going to pretend that I've got that part of the puzzle sorted, but I'm very conscious of it. So it's something I know that I need to work on. And as a result, you know, I'm working on making sure I take the time, making sure I, as I mentioned earlier, schedule in the activities that do make a difference to me. But I do think it's hard. I think it's something you need to be conscious of if it doesn't happen naturally.
I also believe that the relationship that we have with ourselves determines the quality of every other relationship in life, be it with health, wealth, happiness, relationships around you, the connection with the self, to be able to have the thriving kind of the mindset. So what would you say is the relationship that you have with yourself then?
I think it's changed over the years, and I think as I've got older, as I've been in this industry longer, as I've got more confident, I think the relationship with myself has got better and has got stronger, and I'm definitely more aligned with who I am, because I think when you're younger, and especially, you know, in terms of cultural pressures, when you're younger, you know, you kind of hold back a little bit, maybe you're a little bit more reserved, maybe you don't put as much out there, and I think I'm definitely more aligned now, because I've realized, you know what, you live once. You live once, you need to say what you want to say, do what you want to do. So I've definitely become more attuned to who I am the later in life.
Beautiful, beautiful. What would you say to someone wanting to start out as an authority on social media, LinkedIn? How should they express themselves and be who they are meant to be?
I would say don't underestimate the knowledge that you have, because I see so many people who don't realize that they're an expert. I mean, if you've spent 10 years of your life, 15, 20 years of your life in an industry, you're an expert. You know a lot about that field that plenty of people out there want to learn. So I think, number one, don't underestimate yourself and understand this value in the knowledge that you have. Number two, understand there are people always behind you in the journey who are ready to learn. And I often get asked, yeah, but can't people Google this information? Won't they find it? Sure, yes, but how many of them are coming from your unique perspective and your unique voice? So there is a place for your voice and your perspective, and people are going to resonate with that. Number three, I honestly think you just need to start. Start small. It doesn't have to be extensive, but just start today, because you have no idea who you're impacting and how. And that's something that fascinates me, because as I mentioned, I grew up behind the camera. I truly believed that fame was reserved for certain types of people. And now I'm meeting people all the time who know me because they've been following me on LinkedIn, or they're connecting with my content, or they're resonating with me in some way. And that's all been possible just because I started to get active and posted my content and shared value. So I truly believe that this is a journey that anyone can do. And it's really about you getting over that hurdle and starting.
I remember when I started, I was so shy. One small video of 30 or 60 seconds took me 1 hour to do it, and I was so frustrated at the end of the day. But the more practice, the better I became, and now I'm so much more comfortable on camera.
But I also think you need to stop caring what everyone else thinks. It just put it out there. If you know that you're adding value, that's enough. And I think the other thing to realize is that think about your own behavior. When you're scrolling through social media, you're not liking everything, you're not commenting on everything, but you're still consuming it. So don't worry about likes and comments and engagement. People are still watching your content. So I don't worry about what's happening on my posts. For me, my metric is how many people are DMing me. And you'd be surprised how, I'd get DMs every day and maybe no comments that day. People are still consuming your content. They just maybe don't want to commit to that in public, so understand what metric to use as a gauge and stop worrying what people think.
Yeah, we usually don't do something or stop doing things because we feel the fear of judgment. We feel everybody is judging us. There are these people, but who are these people? We've never known. Like, we think people will say this, people will think that. But I feel it's so important, and I talk to my husband about this, is that who are these people? We've never seen these people, but we worry so much about them. So how do you balance personal and professional life?
Again, I'm not going to claim to have all the answers here, because I have focused on my work. I have predominantly been more balanced or more weighted on the professional side of things, and it's a journey. So I'm currently in that process of trying to get the scales the other way and factor in more time for personal life and for passion. So I'm not going to say that I have that figured out, but I do know that it has to be a conscious effort, and it has to be one where you proactively schedule your time, because if it isn't scheduled, it isn't happening.
So thank you for this beautiful conversation. I've learned so much today. So to leave you with a final question, so what is your message to the world through your purpose and passion, and what's the legacy you would like to leave?
God, legacy is a heavy word. But genuinely, as much as I've been in this industry for over 25 years, we've had so many amazing accolades, and we've won New York Awards and Cannes Awards and all of that, and that's great. But as I mentioned earlier, I truly feel that the transformations that individuals have had has probably offered a more rewarding sensation than winning an award. So when it comes to legacy, I think the more people who get comfortable and confident and overcome their fears and get out on camera and understand the value in themselves and their knowledge and getting visible, thankfully, we've worked with many people who now say, oh, I'm so glad that I came to that workshop, or I'm so glad I overcame that fear, and they're now thriving online. And that to me is something very special. And the one takeaway I always leave everyone with is, if you're not visible, you're invisible. And it's in your hands to change that.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. Wishing you all the best for the beautiful journey.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Come Alive podcast. Please like, comment, and share it with whoever needs to hear it.